Hi, I'm Alistair. Welcome to the first devlog, and what you're seeing here is a glitch effect that I built this last weekend as part of my master material. I'm still figuring out all the different effects that I can create with it, but this gives you an idea of what it can do. You'll see it in action during gameplay later, and I'll probably return to improve it. If you have any suggestions for a retro camera glitch, drop them in the comments or come by the Discord later. For this first devlog, I'll be talking over some general gameplay cuts to give you a feel for the world. This is from my most recent build of the game. It's not editor gameplay. The final post-processing is a little bit better. And I'll cut in with specific clips when we dive into the details, because I tried to figure out several ways to start this devlog process. And honestly, I spent so much time trying to figure out how to structure it. I've been working on this game for so long now that I have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to material to talk about. I just don't know where to begin. How do you start talking about something a year into development? A 30-minute video would start to scratch the surface. So I figured the best way to start is to just show you the game in action. So, as you watch me explore this test environment, what is this game? It's a cinematically inspired, narrative-driven horror game where nothing is scripted. It's based in the year 1991, and you're exploring an abandoned research facility, looking for any information on your missing brother. But you're exploring the facility from the watching security camera system. The post-processing and camera placement is meant to make it feel like you're taking part in a movie.
What are you hoping to prove, Detective? As far as I'm concerned, you're already dead. Just like him.
The character controller is a completely redesigned movement system. It elevates the classic tank controller to a new level thanks to the dynamic control rig's interactivity. I mean, just look at that hand pointing the flashlight wherever you're looking, crouching, standing. And it's not just a third-person game. You can actively pull the camera into the tape you're watching. Your narrator doesn't like when you go into the story directly, though, and he can rip the camera away from you if you stay too long. That's right. Perspective itself is now a commodity.
Tisk tisk. Careless. Sloppy. Do you even want to survive?
The current monster's AI is based on, and I apologize if I get the name wrong, Ali Al-Zahari's series on behavior trees. I'm currently learning the new state trees to refactor this AI before I even start making the next one. We're not going to get into that one yet, though, because it's going to require custom C++ navigation that I'm still learning. Luckily, by the time I'm comfortable with C++ again, I can start learning verse. The current monster is the game's namesake, the Promethean, an outcome of the facility's experimentation on xenomorphic hybridization. It's nearly blind and hears exceptionally well. I created a custom C++ addition to the AI perception logic so that I can dynamically adjust it at runtime, depending on the Promethean state, whether it's walking, searching, or running. The sight distance and the field of view change. And yes, you can pick up objects to toss and throw it off your trail. This is a horror game, and the core idea was to remove as many gamey safety nets as possible. There's no HUD, there's no glowing objects. The character itself is your UI. To use a title given to the name by an early TikTok viewer, you might think of it as the Stanley Scarable, and your narrator is highly contextual within the semi-open world. The clue system is what drives the narrative state machine. Every key object has a narrative controller which defines its current state. Is it a known clue? Is it undiscovered? Is it photographed? based on the state of every item combined, the system knows what the narrator, who is more of an antagonist, should say. If player knows A, then say B. If the player knows X and Y, say Z. It's a complex web of logic with its own hierarchy of importance, and sometimes just randomness. This is also where your character becomes UI. The clue system talks directly to the character's rig. If the character can see a clue without breaking his neck, he'll turn to look at it. If your flashlight is out, he'll point it at the clue. If you're in first person, the camera will pull your focus towards it. The character is going to try to tell you something is here. Discovering clues also often triggers a reaction from the narrator. If he has something to say, he'll chime in for that specific context. My small test area has around 40 narrative states or more, and the player would never see more than 25% of them on a single playthrough. Many of the responses even have multiple variations. For example, entering the building for the first time triggers 2 different responses. Each of them have 7 random dialogues, giving you 49 different entry monologues. You can start to see a scaling problem here. That's why I did a week-long game jam to force myself to learn Blender better and improve this system. The result was a short game with 4 unhappy endings built in a week, and it led to a much better knowledge tag-based system, which is still on the agenda to be refactored back into this game. It also means that if somebody ever gets the achievement of hearing all the dialogue, it would be a monumental feat akin to the Stanley Parables Go Outside, done honestly. Now my journey here was a bit weird. I spent all of high school learning C++ and trying to make games in MS-DOS. I remember making card games, or a top-down paintball game where you controlled an arrow shooting at another arrow. But without an engine, I couldn't figure out a full game loop, and I didn't pursue it much afterwards. I ended up studying the highly practical arts of philosophy and rhetorical theory. But now I'm bringing it all back around to this massively scoped hobby of indie game design. I've always been most interested in narratives, and a game is just a narrative in an interactive medium. I started this whole thing with Unity. I spent months learning the engine in C#, but even by the time I started working on this game in Unity, I was having AI write a lot of my scripts. I switched to Unreal nearly a year ago and haven't looked back. Like everyone, I started with Unreal Sensei. I learned to make a master material from the guys at Bad Decision Studios. And then I watched every other material tutorial that I could find. I spent days watching Smart Poly's videos on blueprints. Within a few weeks, I was doing Unreal University's tutorials, like his super hot recreation. And you know what? The atmosphere changed. I wasn't just watching tutorials from indie devs anymore. I was watching videos from people in film production, in cinematic effects. The whole ecosystem operates on a different level. I'm not going to do a whole Unity versus Unreal comparison, but I will say if you're working in Unity and wondering, you can make the switch. It's rough starting something over, but it's easier than ever now. They even have the Parrot Game sample project, showing how the same game is made in both engines. My best analogy is for making toast. In Unity, it felt like I had to make bread from scratch and wire the house for electricity just to use the toaster. In Unreal, the toaster is plugged in and I have a loaf of sliced bread. You just make toast. And I don't need to recreate my character controller 4 times. This focus on just make the game is why my Steam page has been sitting untouched for more than 5 months. Following Chris Zukowski's advice, I put it up as early as I could and then got back to work. I haven't really done any marketing except for random TikTok videos. The most fascinating part was when I was digging into the analytics after those 5 months of no activity. I was expecting maybe a handful of wish lists, probably all from the US, but what I found was genuinely surprising. You can take a look. We have a significant number of wish lists from Germany, Japan, Kazakhstan. Roughly half the wish lists are from non-English speaking countries, and I don't have any localizations listed yet. For a game with no marketing, this tells me the idea of a dark, reactive horror story is resonating with people globally, regardless of language. Frankly, seeing this data is one of the most motivating things that's happened in this project. It proves there's an audience out there waiting for it, and that's why my current project, besides making the game, is finally updating the Steam page. It's why I've been so focused on learning DaVinci Resolve lately, so I can make trailers to match the new rendering pipeline and start working on YouTube here. Oh yeah, and animate me. And did I mention I have a day job? It's not in the industry, and when I get home at 5 p.m., I'm on the computer for most of the next 7 hours. However, it didn't start that way. One of the early videos I watched when I was beginning this journey was from Sasquatch B Studios. He talks about building habits. How do you go from playing games most nights to making them? Slowly. If you don't have a habit of working on your game for 2 hours a day, it's not realistic to suddenly start. So you start small. 15 minutes a day. Even 5 minutes of 15 is too much. That's time in your engine, not just watching YouTube. 2 days in and you have a streak. You won't want the streak to end after a week. You may even push up to 30 minutes in the engine. Within months, you've built a habit of working on your project for hours. Learn to enjoy the process itself. Now, my Game Pass subscription is canceled and the console collects dust, but I want to start giving back to the community that taught me everything. So, alongside these devlogs, I'm working on creating a few tutorials. These are what's planned so far. We have the dynamic lighting setup, where we'll use meta sounds and dynamic materials to create the realistic game-ready lighting system that you see here. The first video will be on the procedural meta sound source. The second video will be on the light actor and manager blueprints with a tick-free management system. The third video will be on how to cull the lights and further optimize the system. We'll also have an actor onboarding process for when you realize your shipping build has race conditions that weren't obvious in the editor. We're going to go a little more in depth than just adding a delay by 0.2 seconds. Then there's the profile system, and we're not talking about trace profiles. We'll upgrade the lighting system to include sound profiles. We'll use enums, structs, and data tables to go from a system that's hard to maintain and expand to a system that scales super easy. This is a technique that you can apply in a lot of places, and I'm already using it in this glitch effect to build various profiles. More areas are planned as I get further into development, but those are a bit in the weeds for now. So if you want to see how any of this actually works, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to be diving into specific systems in future devlogs. I'll also be creating tutorials for things that I haven't found covered in YouTube's Unreal community. Join the Discord for more on either general game design or if you're interested in the Promethean Project itself. So thanks for watching, and don't worry, the security cameras are still rolling.
You should be grateful. He's ignoring you, for now. Yes, congratulations. You found when we were doing research into